Breaking news. Today's headline is a real doozy. Imagine this. A well-known news anchor, loved by viewers far and wide, finds himself in the middle of a freak accident. And bam! He's not reading the news anymore. He's turned into a mutant earthworm. Yeah, you heard that right. Now, what do you think happens when someone who's always craved the spotlight suddenly finds themselves, well, underground? Literally. Could this be how the universe accidentally cooks up its next big supervillain? Or is it a twist of fate that'll kickstart a journey from ego to empathy? Buckle up, friends. We're about to dig into the wild, weird, and wonderfully twisted tale of Warren Stone. The character was created by Ian Bush for the Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles show in 2018. He was played by John Michael Higgins, who you might know from Pitch Perfect, the Saved by the Bell reunion show, Community, or even as the Riddler in the Batman, the Brave and the Bold show. Now, Warren Stone was all about Warren Stone, which is very likely what attracted him to be a news anchor. While his transformation was never shown in the series, it was implied that he was stung by an mosquito. The irony of a character who thrives on attention and recognition becoming something as inconspicuous and commonly overlooked as an earthworm, forcing him to a newfound ground-level existence, is very compelling. This twist isn't just for laughs, though. It's a deep dive into fame, ego, and how quickly both can vanish. Of course, this need for recognition would push him to antagonize the Turtles, as he saw their defeat at his hands as a path back to the glory he once enjoyed. Warren becoming an earthworm is also a symbolic fall from grace that stripped him of all his superficial layers and forced him into a second chance in life to find value and purpose beyond the public recognition he was so accustomed to, hopefully leading to a more humble personality. But as far as the character arc progressed in the show, that path would be slow. Hilariously slow. No one except Hypno would take him seriously. Hypno would rescue him from a lonely life in the events I will describe throughout this video. The character debuted in Newsworthy by writer Jesse Gordon. All we got as an origin story to him was from his monologue about being the Turtles' greatest nemesis, something the Turtles were clearly not aware of. So Warren had a plan. He'd prove he was the top bad guy by catching the Turtles off guard. Knowing that they were after a monster hippo, he set up a sticky trap, thinking he'd catch him like flies on paper. He called it a goop trap. The Turtles fell for it, but wouldn't pay attention to Warren at all. Fuming, Warren jumped on Leo's face, who panicked and cut him in half. But Warren wasn't dead. Just like earthworms, when the vital side of their body remains intact, they can grow the other back. Unfortunately, in the case of Warren, this would take at least a week and would also be a very painful process. Disappointed with how the Turtles ignored the threat he represented, he realized that the Turtles were looking for a magic hippo. Therefore, he needed to become a magic worm. He went to Clem's Candy, where everyone would go to get any mystical stuff, and got himself a blue gem. With this relic, he enhanced himself to become a super muscular worm. Ready for the final confrontation, he set up a trap for the Turtles at a TV studio by calling the police and reporting the attack of a mutant hippo. Unfortunately, Hypnopotamus actually showed up there and used his powers to mesmerize the Turtles. Realizing the Turtles were about to be killed by someone other than him, he saved them from Hypnopotamus, and using his blue gem, he sent the Mesmeru back to him, leaving Hypno in a trance. He also called himself Warren Bad Boy Stone. As a result of the attack, the gem fell and broke down, and Warren reverted back to normal. The Turtles came out of their trance, unsure about what happened, and simply assumed their plan worked. Warren tried to tell them it was him who defeated Hypnopotamus, but the Turtles didn't even know who he was. Still in need of a mystical artifact, Warren found the Dark Armor's gauntlet, which he named Charlotte. He also played a significant role in the IDW prequel series to the show. There, Baron Draxum gave Warren the means to test the Turtles' skills. Warren used the resources to kidnap a few villains, like Man-Bun, Alberto, Meat Sweats, and Hypnopotamus. This, of course, didn't work out in the end, as no one took him seriously, and all the villains started fighting against the Turtles. I have problems believing that Baron Draxum would put so much trust in Warren Stone, a character he wouldn't even remember the next time they met. Draxum eventually gathered Meat Sweats, Repo Mantis, Hypnopotamus, Todd Capybara, and the Sando brothers, Ben and Carl, to eliminate the turtles, as they were getting in the way of his plans to bring the yokai back to the surface and take over their space in the world. Warren invited himself, and with the power of Charlotte, was able to be of use. Still, they lost to the turtles. Spectacularly. It was revealed after this episode that Warren was all alone in the world. His fame was gone and forgotten, and he had nothing going for him. That is, until he found a mate in Hypnopotamus that turned his life around. They moved in together, and he became his magical assistant. He even baked a birthday cupcake for his birthday, and then he magically jumped out of it. In his words, Hypno was his brother. Hypno was his... He got interrupted, but you could guess the next word was lover. However, Warren was still using Charlotte, which put them in the path of Baron Draxum, who needed all the parts of the dark armor to take its power and become the yokai's protector. Trying to get the gauntlet, he kidnapped Hypno. Warren asked the turtles and April for help. Usually, this wouldn't have worked, but April used to be the vice president of his fan club. A stonehead, as he would call them. She recognized that perfect coiffed hair, and since it was her birthday, she convinced the guys to help him get his friend/roomie/it's complicated back from Baron Draxum. Unfortunately, Warren betrayed the turtles and tried to make a pact with Draxum to keep the gauntlet and Hypno in exchange for them. Draxum pretended to accept the deal, but it was all a ruse to force Hypno into mesmerizing Warren and making him give the gauntlet back. But he did this under the condition that Warren would not get hurt, a clause Draxum didn't seem to comply with. This forced Hypno to ask the turtles for help, and after freeing them, they started fighting for a very stretched Warren. Fearing he would get split in the middle, April slashed his gauntlet arm off. Happy with having the gauntlet, Draxum left. But Warren wasn't happy with Charlotte being gone. He was okay with his missing arm, which he regrew immediately. After all, that was their trademark magic trick. Still, for Hypno, who loved Warren too much to let him die, this was all he needed. He kissed him on the cheek and then went back home with him to make fun of game show contestants on TV. To convince April that her birthdays weren't cursed, Raph gave Warren's chopped arm to April as a gift, which ultimately saved the day for her. Warren's last official appearance on the show will be during the Turtledega Nights episode, where he competed against the Turtles and other villains, including his roommate, in a demolition derby. He did have what I would call a non-canon cameo in another episode, but it doesn't count. Warren drove a Channel 6 action news van, which would become his preferred mode of transportation from then on, although it would get destroyed on every occasion. The duo appeared again in the movie, as they stole a mystical dimension key for the Foot Clan from an artifacts exhibit. But once they learned that the Foot Clan wanted to free the Krang to lay waste to this world and enslave its people, they realized this wasn't just about robbing banks, and they fled. Warren and Hypno would have had a more extended sequence at the beginning of the movie, instead of the more direct car chase scene. Hypno would have used Warren as a skeleton key to get inside and steal the artifact. Of course, the Turtles would have stopped them. Leonardo would have forgotten who Warren was in the middle of the conflict, as usual. Warren then would have told him that he was his worst enemy, and that they fought him dozens of times. And that Leo was even Warren's emergency contact. The series co-creator, Andy Suriano, developed a look for Hypno and Warren Stone for the dystopian future of Earth. By the year 2044, Warren would have lost all of his hair. While the relationship between these two characters was always left ambiguous, they were confirmed as partners by Andy Suriano, making Warren Stone an LGBTQIA+ character. It's unclear what the future of this character was, as the show was cancelled. Warren was often described as a self-obsessed person, and while Hypno is not as self-centered as him, I think the two work well together in their quest to be under the limelight. You can check my Hypnopotamus video to see the other side of this story. Thanks for watching. See you in the sewers.